What's up, everyone? Let's dive into one of the most hilariously unlikely and volatile pairings that I could possibly think of if we're talking about comic books. Two characters that are honestly very similar when you think about powers and just like ability sets, but would just not get along. And obviously, if you guys could read the title, we're talking about Reed Richards, aka Mr. Fantastic of the Fantastic Four, and Plastic Man, the slapstick shapeshifter from DC Comics. These two stretchy superheroes may have, yes, as I said, similar powers, but trust me, their personalities would clash harder than oil and water in every single possible way. By the end of this video, I'm honestly just going to try to get you guys to see why these two would absolutely hate each other in so many different ways. But with all that said and done, let's really get into this specific video. First of all, let's start off with the most obvious reason they'd clash, and that's their personalities. Reed Richards is the epitome of a stoic, hyper-focused scientist. He is always calculating, always planning, always theorizing, and sometimes to the detriment of his own relationships, just doing almost all of these things at every given point in time, to the point that he is quite literally known as the smartest being in his entire universe. Plastic Man, on the other hand, is a walking punchline. He is all about humor, improvisation, and sheer chaos. Reed Richards just trying to discuss quantum mechanics or anything with Plastic Man would just transform into a giant whoopee cushion, and that's just almost a recipe for instant irritation on at least one side almost instantaneously. And if we're really just thinking about it, Reed and Plastic Man might both like fight the good fight, but when you really go out and like think about it, they go about it in the most very entirely different ways. Reed is more methodical and strategic because of obviously how smart he is, and he's often taking the cerebral approach to just solving problems. He's the guy who will write a 200-page report before taking action, and Plastic Man is basically, not doing that. He relies on his instinct, his off the wall creativity. He'll turn into a trampoline or a giant slingshot just to save the day. And Reed would really just see this as reckless, while Plastic Man would just find Reed almost uncontrollably dull. And honestly, let's not forget about like the tones that these two heroes and like these two characters just bring to the table. Reed's stories usually often involve high stakes drama, intergalactic politics, and existential threats, just him trying to deal with a lot of things. But Plastic Man usually thrives in the absurd, lighthearted escapades where the stakes might involve stopping a bank robbery with the help of a banana shaped disguise or like this, just so many other things. But really put these two in a room, and Reed would likely see Plastic Man as an distraction, with Plastic Man just kind of viewing Reed as the ultimate killjoy. So their entire approaches to everything would just really kind of get on each other's nerves. And as I said, even though their powers are similar, like with both being able to stretch and shape their bodies in very specific ways, the way that they both use them couldn't be any more different. Reed uses his elasticity, for precise, calculated moves like reaching into dangerous machinery or like restraining an enemy, doing specific, very, smart, logical things. Plastic Man, on the other hand, takes his powers and like his abilities to a way far more whimsical approach, using his powers to become outrageous shapes like cars, animals, or even furniture. Reed would see Plastic Man's antics honestly probably as a waste of potential, while Plastic Man would mock Reed for taking himself extremely too serious. Yet the funny thing is, Plastic Man is leagues stronger than Reed in every single way. So Reed couldn't beat him in the fight. Like, even if they fought, like any time that they would fight, Reed would just automatically know and get straight put in his place because, like, yes, Reed has a need for control, but there's one thing that he can't control, and that is Plastic Man. Because just talking about it, Reed is a very well known and has a well documented need for control. He's used to being like the smartest guy in the room in every room that he's ever entered, and he's the leader who everyone kind of looks for guidance. Like Plastic Man, however, is more wild and carefree and doesn't really take orders extremely well. If they were on a team, Reed would probably try reining Plastic Man's unpredictable behavior, which would only make Plastic Man push back even harder, and it's just going to be a classic order and a classic battle of order versus chaos. Like, really, just like think about it. Plastic Man loves to poke holes and like just poke fun at authority figures, and let's face it, Reed is practically the target of all of that right there. Like, he basically has just biggest authority figure in existence taped right onto his back. Like, between the serious demeanor and his tendency to lecture, Reed would almost be an irresistible target for Plastic Man's jokes and pranks, which would be hilarious to see. But whether it's mimicking Reed's elongated form in a ridiculous way, or just crackling jokes about Reed's egghead persona, Plastic Man would basically just drive Reed up an entire wall and get Reed so absolutely aggravated in every single way that Reed would basically just be trying to get as far away from him as possible. And like, really just kind of thinking about it, Reed's worldview is literally rooted in so much opposites comparatively to anybody else, because he is rooted in science and logic. He believes that every problem has a solution, and if you think about it hard enough, he's almost always right. Plastic Man, on the other hand, has the most chaotic, almost nihilistic perspective, because he's seen like the darker side of life, having started off as a petty criminal before becoming a hero. But the clash in perspectives would really just lead to a constant philosophical disagreement, or kind of anything where these two would never be willing to kind of just budge on any of their points, just due to the fact of, well, they're both being so headstrong. Well, specifically Reed, because we know how he be getting down anytime he doesn't get his way, or he just figures something that he doesn't like. We're not going to completely talk about that, but it's just never kind of really any good thing to just annoy Reed. But Plastic Man can do what he pleases. But yeah, so if Reed and Plastic Man ever actually did find themselves in the same superhero team, or just on a mission together, the team up dynamics would just cause an absolute nightmare and a headache for everybody else, because it would be a disaster. Like, Reed's entire leadership style is about structure and discipline, while Plastic Man thrives on that unpredictability that I've been talking about this entire video. The rest of the team would probably have to play referee, as these two just butted heads over everything from the battle strategies to what's for lunch, or just literally anything in between. Because the idea of Reed and Plastic Man just interacting has been a hot topic among any fans that just like think about these two in the same similar sorts of powers, and some suggest that their differences could lead to some grudging respect. But let's be real, their classic, like, just their personalities alone would make them more likely to result in endless arguments and passive aggressive banter, because this is the only kind of dynamic that would really just make for a very amazing crossover event. And even if it's just to watch the chaos unfold, we would really just be enjoying the entirety of the worldview the full way through. And like, as I said, these two could argue, talk, and just do as much as they want in terms of just like complaining to each other. But in the end, one of them is far, far leagues stronger, and it is not Reed in any specific possible way. And yes, even though he's like so smart and everything else like that, that you can only do so much with intelligence, and that intelligence ain't doing much against somebody like Plastic Man, who is quite possibly can literally do and become the most powerful person in his own like Justice League, specifically depending on like how he uses his abilities and what he's trying to do. So you really just have to think about it specifically carefully. And I'm really on like making this video for like a couple of reasons. One, I love the Fantastic Four, and I wanted to just kind of make a video on it since I haven't done it yet, surprisingly. And two, obviously because of the fact that Marvel Rivals just did release Reed Richards and Sue Storm into the game, and I'm really loving playing that game. So just kind of wanted to make another video just talking about the Fantastic Four for that reason alone. But with all that said, at the end of the day, just being real, Reed and Plastic Man would just really hate each other, and just due to the fact that they're two sides of the same stretchy coins, their powers, as I said, are very similar, but personalities would just give me a headache just trying to think about. And the approaches to their heroism and their worldviews being so different would just make for even more arguments every single time that these two would be in the same room. And while it's fun to just imagine what chaos would ensue if these two ever did cross paths, it's clear that these two would just drive each other absolutely bonkers and insanely nuts, just in every single way that they could possibly even think about. But if you guys did enjoy this, please leave a like, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell for just getting caught up with any other videos that I do post. Thank you guys for watching, and let me know down in the comments which unlikely pairings you would like me to explore next. Until next time, keep stretching those imaginations and diving into the world of comics. Peace.